Good morning. My name is David Okun. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We are talking about universal credit. Thank you so much, everybody who have been helping, who have been subscribing to support this channel, and we have been talking about the United Kingdom and the help available there in terms of supporting the cost of living crisis, which I've been talking about for over a year now since this program began. And I'm so grateful, I'm so excited the progress we have made in terms of the performance of this program. We are making steady progress and continue supporting this material and this program. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed, share with family and friends. And we are today going to look at the universal credit, carrying on to look at specifics in the United Kingdom. And if you want to know something about universal credit, watch the rest of the video, because there are actually so many videos on the topic. And but more importantly, if you are really wanting help specifically to do with the cost of living or any other need you have in terms of welfare benefit, or actually housing, or some of the support given by the government within the public and social sector, then the best place to visit is actually online. A lot of things now being done online, and you can go on the internet and actually access gov.uk, which is actually a fantastic public website belonging to the government, UK government. It is actually similar to internet website for different governments of the world, including governments in Africa. And it's a sense of harmonizing information and also policy and all the other factors of society because of globalization. I've been talking about this. The reason is that different people will be wanting different things on the online, on the social media, especially. So I try to actually widen the horizon of information as much as I can. Actually, try to discuss a very complex material in a more conversational, in a more simplified way. It's a learning experience for me, and I suppose for viewers as well, because some of this material is very complicated. So let us carry on with universal credit, which is actually money given to British people who need help in different ways. And today we're going to look at the care component, the care system of money. If you're caring for somebody, you get some money from the government to help you because you're caring for somebody. So we talk about a situation where you get extra money. If you're actually caring for somebody, you get an extra 185 pounds and 86 pence per month. If you look after a severely disabled person for at least 35 hours per week. And we have discussed this information elsewhere. We just here repeating this information, which is a good thing, and it actually supports our learning and also our participation. So if you actually if you tell the person you look after about their claim, then you could lose some of your benefits if you get extra amount. So what I can say from experience is that carer's allowance, if the allowance, the money you're given when you're looking after somebody, careless allowance affects your other benefits. Although the independent information will say it's not means tested, which means it's not dependent on the level of your income. But normally in taxes, somehow you getting careless allowance, but part of your benefit will be reduced. And I've confessed I'm not really sure the logic, the policy logic, but mysterious things happen with government policies generally. So it's about getting extra money in addition to the money you're already getting. What I'm now explaining will make more sense if you've been watching the other videos. And also, you can actually go online and look at universal credit and do a dependent study. And leave a comment below if you think I should provide more information. And also, if you need extra help, maybe privately, because see, this material is not a material of advice. I'm not really advising anyone, because advice is actually a very precise information. You advise a personality, either an organization, or you advise a person, an individual, which means if I was to advise someone or an institution, I have to really collect some data about specific problems they look for. If they are maybe in terms of carers allowance, if they are actually caring for somebody or they're thinking of caring for somebody, then I will speak to them specifically about their options. But I'm now talking broadly on this program. But right now I'm talking about carers allowance, which is the kind of money given to somebody who is caring for somebody else. Now, there are situations when you will not be able to get extra money, in which case you won't actually get extra money in terms of carers allowance. You won't be able to get money if you are employed as a carer. Because there are carers who care for friends, family, or just their grannies. I mean, you may be caring for your grandparent, for your parent, for your best friend or something in that context. But there are also carers who are actually instituted. They work, they are employed, they are professionally trained and also recruited as carers. So under this circumstance, if you work as a carer, under this circumstance, you won't be getting extra money if you're actually employed. If you're caring as an employee, other than caring as a volunteer. When you talk about carers allowance, an equivalent is actually you're volunteering. Say maybe to care for your mother, for your dad, for your siblings, caring for them full time. Normally you actually stop work when you're actually caring for people. You stop work because you have to care for someone for 35 hours in a week. That's a lot of work. So the person you care for must be getting one of the following benefits. So the condition for receiving care as allowance and somebody who is providing care must also be getting the person they care for must be getting one of the following benefits. So if you are actually being cared for, if somebody is caring for you, the criteria for them, for the people being cared for, the criteria is those people being cared for should actually be in the seat for benefit. And if they don't receive benefit, then they might not be getting it. The qualifying benefits which are of relevance is attendance allowance. Attendance allowance now can be claimed by pensioners. Is sickness payment. Sickness benefit is non-means tested. There are other benefits, even if they are sickness benefit, which are actually means tested. But attendance allowance is not means tested, which means, in principle, if you have a lot of saving, maybe 10,000, 50,000 pounds, I would like to say even if you have £1 million, it doesn't matter how rich you are. If you want to claim attendance allowance, and you are actually a pension age, a state pension age, which you can check, or in the United Kingdom you can check on gov.uk. You put your information there, and it shows you where your age, whether it is for purposes of pension. If you are of state pension age, which is I think now it should be about 66 or 67, I can't remember. They keep changing it all the time. It used to be 55 around 10, 20 years ago. Now you have to live longer, much longer, to get pension in the United Kingdom, state pension or work pension. I'm not sure about private pension, but there are 3 types of pension. There are 4 actually. There's pension credit, which is actually similar to state pension and work pension, except pension credit is means tested, which means if you have a certain level of income, you don't actually get it. Because some pensioners are allowed to continue working. Normally, people who are pensioners retire from work, but it's not really the case that if you're a pensioner, you're supposed to retire. You can continue working and still get your pension, as long as the pension is state pension or private pension or actually work pension. But if it is pension credit, then it depends on the amount of money you get from your work or the amount of money you have in savings. If you are actually having a certain amount of money, I think it is probably, I can't remember, I think 30,000. I need to check that information for pension credit, because it's different from, I think it's 10,000. If you have 10,000 pounds, you still get pension credit if you're a pensioner. So if you're working for a living, it's really good to make sure there's 10,000 pounds in saving in your bank account. You can spend your money as much as you like. If you're working, you can, spend your money until you drop. But what I would say to people is that if you're working, save some of the money. Save as much as you can. If you're actually about 60 years now, because at 60 you're about to retire. If you with state pension, which is a different, slightly, I'm straying a little bit from talking about universal credit. I'm not talking about benefits still, but I'm talking about pension, because we are mentioning pension under universal credit. We didn't mention pension, but because we talk about attendance allowance. And attendance allowance are actually sickness benefit, which relate to people of state pension age. If you're below that, to continue with this information, attendance allowance, we took attendance allowance in terms of as a qualifying benefit for people who might get carers allowance under universal credit regime, and attendance allowance is one of the benefits. If you're getting one of these benefits, you might you have to get one of these benefits in order to get carers allowance. In order for somebody caring for you to get carers allowance, as somebody being cared for, you need to get one of these qualifying benefits. Attended allowance. I was trying to explain what attended allowance is. For people, if you're claiming new attended allowance now, then attended allowance being claimed is for people of pension age, state pension age. In other words, if you are an elderly person, so you should get the standard or enhanced rate of the daily living component. The standard or enhanced rate of the daily living. When it is standard, it means is what you normally get, but if it is enhanced, it means it's higher. Enhancement means it is higher than standard rate. But for the qualifying benefit, if you're also getting standard or enhanced rate of the daily living component, because there is also some different component for personal independence payment. But you need to get the daily living component of personal independence payment. The daily component of personal independence payment of the standard or enhanced rate. That is another benefit for people who are actually under state pension age, normal adults, in other words, who are actually not children, or the IS or middle rate of the care component, disability living allowance. We talk about daily living component or personal independent payment, the standard or enhanced. But with the disability living allowance, it has to be the highest or the middle rate of the care component. Care component of the disability living allowance, actually sickness benefit for children. It used to be for the elderly as well, but now you cannot claim disability living allowance for elderly people. It's now legacy benefit, but the current benefit for sickness, which is not means-tested benefit, because there are some sickness benefit which under, for example, under universal credit or under legacy benefit, which are actually means-tested. Employment support allowance is an example, which now under universal credit is called the sickness element. We have gone through this in the other videos. Some people might not have watched the previous video. So these are actually sickness benefits which you need to get in order to get carer's allowance for your carer, because your carer is the one who will be getting carer's allowance, but you need to get some of these benefits. And these benefits are actually sickness benefits. They are also there to help the Department of Work on Pension to provide evidence of your being sick, because these benefits are actually assessed for purposes of your medical condition, something called health assessment, which actually you undergo through before you begin to receive these benefits. But in practice, as I speak now, getting sickness benefit is almost impossible because of health assessment. In my opinion, this is a deliberate government policy to prevent people, to discourage people from claiming benefit, because for political reason more than anything else, because the government has shut down the public sector. What we get in the public sector now is what is left. I have been repeating this point. I also said I will be repeating them because they are very, really critical for people to understand what is happening. And if you go to claim benefit, if you need it, if somebody you know need it, But sometimes, even if you don't need it, you are actually entitled to it, like state pension. That is a form of benefit. If you work in your life and you reach retirement age, even if you are not retiring, if you are entitled to state pension, you get your full state pension, regardless. Including if you're working, just how much you're paid. That's my understanding. You can check the information over and over us. Other professionals, because now I'm not speaking in my I'm not speaking in my professional capacity. I'm speaking now as a YouTuber, which means I'm a bit flexible in the way I address and the way I approach information and also proceedings. Sure, we are looking at disability living allowance. Another benefit you could actually pay attention to in the situational carers allowance is a qualifying benefit. Another benefit is constant attendance allowance. Constant attendance allowance, which is paid with a war disablement pension or industrial injuries benefits. These are a very rare form of benefit because it has to be paid alongside a war disablement pension, or industrial injuries benefits, which is also non-means-tested benefit. And we also have Armed Forces Independence Payment. This is actually another benefit which relates to people who are served in the armed forces. If they are sick, they are likely to be entitled to these benefits. And I believe they are also subjected to health assessment. People who serve in the military. Sure, someone already getting carers allowance, and they can still get the carers element. If you're getting carers allowance, you can get the carer element of universal credit. These will count as an earned income, but it is an income nevertheless, which you did not earn. Now, every time you hear the word income and universal credit and carers allowance, it means that you're getting care elements. This will count as an earned income. This means your universal credit payments will be reduced by the amount of carers allowance you get. So your carers allowance level reducing will be happening because of the care element, which came with the universal credit element to impact on the amount of carers allowance you get. So therefore, your universal credit payments will be reduced by the amount of carers allowance you get. And if you're already getting carers allowance, care element, which is a universal credit element, it will reduce because you're getting carers allowance. So normally it is actually worth your getting carers allowance as well as universal credit if that is a situation arising. Carers allowance is paid more often than universal credit. And if you're getting universal credit payment, if your universal credit payment is stopped, then you can still get carers allowance. So that's the reasoning. I mean, one or the other, getting carers allowance and universal credit is advantageous, because if universal credit stops because probably your income goes up or for one reason or another, then you will still get carers allowance. So because carers allowance is not mean sensitive, so it's more stable as a benefit than universal credit. If you come below, if you are on benefit, I wouldn't really want to leave a comment below if I'm on benefit, because in my opinion, a benefit in the United Kingdom, get a benefit is demeaning, is a private matter, and I wouldn't tell people I'm getting it because people are stigmatized, stereotyped as less like suffering from a disability or a sickness, or if you are actually in a situation where you feel maybe you are divorced, or I don't know, maybe your parents are divorced. This information are actually embarrassing. It's like you're suffering from cancer, you're suffering from a type of disease which you would rather keep it to yourself. But also, if you're a multimillionaire and a multimillionaire, sometimes it feels as if you're in a social media situation, sometimes it feels as if you have committed some offense by being a millionaire in a world where most people are actually not millionaires. So you might or might not be interested in sharing that information with the world, but it is your choice. Sure, if you have a joint claim, you cannot get carer's element. You cannot get the carer element and the element for sickness or disability. You'll get whichever is higher. You will get one benefit, one or the other. You cannot get both. If you're in a joint claim, if you are not in a joint claim, you cannot get carer element and the element for sickness. So, like if you're a sick person, you'll be getting sickness element of universal credit. Sickness element for universal credit is means sensitive. So you cannot get carer's element, carer element, which is also universal credit. The moment you hear element, the word element, actually you're sick, you're getting carer's element because you are because you're actually caring for somebody. Or yeah, because you're caring for somebody, or maybe you're being cared for. I think I'm not very sure. Sorry. Because there is carer's allowance anyway, and a carer's element and sickness element are probably sickness element. You get sickness element when you are sick. I think also carer's element. I think carer's element, the sick person gets carer element of universal credit. I'm not sure. I need to double check that because it's a bit confusing. Either way, the element for sickness is actually sickness element of universal credit or disability element, because you're either sick or disabled. If you get the same type of benefit, the element for sickness or for disability of universal credit, and as we have discussed, and you will actually get whichever is higher. If the sickness element or disability element is higher than the carer element, then you get whichever one is higher than the other, which is fair. So if you are a carer, also getting carer's allowance, perhaps also carer element, which relate to the carer, the money paid to somebody who is caring for a sick person, if the one, he or she is the one who gets the carer's element, which is actually an element relating to universal credit, as opposed to carer's allowance. Now, carer's allowance is not means sensitive normally, but it can affect your level of carer's element in universal credit. And so, if you are actually in a joint claim, so maybe you're in a relationship and you are claiming universal credit jointly, so you can get both carer as carer element and the element of sickness or disability, but only if they are eligible for one and their partner, and your partner actually eligible for the other. So if you're in a relationship and you're both claiming benefit, if your partner, say for example, get carer's allowance, and you're getting carer element, then you get both benefit as a couple. It's a joint claimant, so you get both benefit. That's the explanation. That's what they're talking about. You find yourself in a situation when I talk about carers and carers element. I was actually talking about as contrasted, compared and contrasted with the sickness element, with disability element. So because I must have said carers allowance, but I was comparing carer element with sickness element, sickness or disability element. So you get one or the other or both. I mean, if one of you are in a joint claim, if one of you is actually eligible for carer element, and the other one is eligible for sickness or disability element, then you get both as a joint claimant, and that was the explanation I was trying to give. And if you have a joint claim, and you and your partner care for different people, then you will get two carer elements. So if you're in a joint claim and both of you, let's say both of you are actually caring for different people, then both of you, you'll get two carer elements. Leave a comment below if you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. You get more money if you're in a joint claim. Normally, often if they're in a joint claim, but not all necessarily always. When they're in a relationship, maybe they are partners, or maybe some other form of family-oriented type of relationship or friendship, who live together, who decide to claim benefit together for one reason or another, and that is the scenario. And if someone else is caring for the same person as yourself for at least 35 hours a week, then you and the other carer can't both get benefits for caring for them, because the same person is being cared for by two people and someone else is caring for the same person as your client for at least 35 years, for 35 hours per week. If someone else is also, because she will be overcared for in terms of benefit. The recipient of care, the sick person, will be cared for a total of 70 hours. If both of you were to be paid carer's allowance. Okay. So if someone else is caring for the same person as yourself, for at least 35 hours a week, then you and the other carer cannot both get benefits for caring for them. When you say benefit, it can be carer element or carer's allowance, or both. So only one of you can get carer's allowance or the carer element. So that's the answer. So you talk about other carer allowance or carer element, which is actually what happens. So if you actually, two of you actually spending 35 hours caring for the same patient, it doesn't matter the level of need that patient might have to have two people caring for them, for such a patient. The Department of Work and Pension will not pay you benefit. It will only pay benefit for one of you, but not for both of you. So that's the information. So some money from pension, benefit maintenance and insurance will have their full amount taken off your universal credit payment. This is a situation when carers allowance is happening. Talking about universal credit, some money from your pensions, benefits, maintenance, and insurance will have their full amount taken off your universal credit payments. So in other words, if you have pension, if you have benefits, if you have maintenance, if you have insurance, and so their full amount will be taken off your universal credit payment. So if there are more than universal credit, you won't get universal credit. If the same amount with universal credit, then you won't get universal credit. If they are more or the same, you won't get universal credit. Unless your universal credit, then you might get universal credit. So this is a means-tested situation based on this information. So this is called an earned income. So means testing is actually income related, or testing your means. Testing your means in terms of your income or savings or investment. So you can find out this information in terms of what counts as an earned income, and also if you are eligible for benefit. So let us look at sickness management and also the benefit involved in terms of managed migration, or in terms of SDP, severe disablement, the severe disablement payment, or within the transitional element arrangement. Transitional element is also an element of universal credit. Is that type of payment you get when you're moving from legacy benefit to universal credit in a managed way. So your migration means you're moving. Migration actually means movement in terms of benefit. You're migrating from legacy benefit to universal credit in a managed way, which means the DWP has given you migration notice with a deadline which you are expected to keep. And also the payments actually which is involved relating to this process, which is actually a transitional element, or actually the actually SDP transitional element. Transitional element, SDC is actually a form of, I think it is a legacy benefit. Legacy benefit means all benefit relating to sickness. So SDP transitional element, this is when I talk about sickness benefit in terms of transition from legacy to universal credit. So your overall payment might go down if you move between the care element and the limited capability for work related or limited capability for work for work element. So we discussed in the other video the meaning of limited capability for work related activity, which means you're very sick in terms of universal credit, in terms of the sickness benefit factor. Limited capability for work related activity shows that you are extremely sick. So you get, normally in practice, you get more sickness benefit in universal credit, known as sickness element. So if you actually get care element, and also if you get limited capability for work related activity or limited capability for work element, which both are actually limited capability for work is similar to limited capability for work related activity. The one is actually limited capability for work related activity means you're very sick, in which case you are not actually being required by the DWP, Department of Work and Pension, to claim benefit, sickness benefit. And limited capability for work means you are sick and you are not actually required to look for work, but you can actually engage in some work related activity like preparing for work in case your condition improves. Because if you are sick, if people are sick, then their condition actually improves, which means they probably will lose their benefit. They will have to report their change of circumstances to the Department of Work and Pension, because their sickness situation have changed, and now they need to go either onto another benefit or get out of a certain benefit, or gain or lose benefit, depending on whether they get a sickness element or the care element. And we have seen others where you might not be able to get both, depending on the level of benefit you get in sickness benefit, which is means tested, and the care element being actually related to you caring for somebody who is sick, which is the care element being a non-means tested benefit. So if you are interested to know more about how the benefit system works, leave a comment below, or go online and read as much as you can. And I have actually explained in the other videos the necessity for learning, for understanding how policy work and policies and laws on benefit is extremely important in illustrating the manner and the way actually benefit operate within the public sectoral setup, specifically in relation to social policy objectives, policy-wise and also legally. And that's why these exercises are not futile or actually a waste of time. They are very valuable for young people, for even children who are actually 5 years, 10 years, if you are astute enough a child to understand more or less adult topics, which is really politics, which actually, there's a lot of politics involved in the benefit economy. I'm not speaking about specific information in brain. They are connected to the other program content in the other program. I mean, other content in the same program, which I spoke about broad social policy and the legal infrastructure relating to social policy and programs, including social services, including welfare benefit and the rest of public service. I've been speaking broadly, but I also said there specifically that the benefit welfare policy and laws are extremely expensive, are extremely complex, and it's not just, if you look at employment law, it's also extremely complicated. And it's exciting because we live in a modern society. If you're a young person, and you have the opportunity to be an expert on any topic today, and also visiting website, and you can visit website to do what you want to do. It's your life. Do whatever you want to do, but I say take time also. If you're playing games or video games or whatever, to kind of engage with fairly serious topics, so that you mix things up, so that it doesn't be too monotonous. Actually, there's no substitute to learning something important as government policy. Because when it comes to it, when you actually, if you're a young person, you're a child, when you leave home, when you join university, most likely you're not going to come back to your parents' home. You're probably going to start living on your own. Then you have to really need to understand how the system works, the philosophy surrounding policy and laws, why the government behaves the way they behave. I've been really laboring throughout the season of my videoing to try and actually explain it to the best of my ability. Going forward, I will be recycling the process to explain over and again, in different ways, so that people begin to understand what government policy looks like, the politics surrounding policy and practices and processes. This is extremely important. Every time I explain specific information, is really sometimes it's really important to generalize, to provide a broad picture, so that people can provide the type of dynamism you need in learning and also acquiring knowledge, which is actually consistent with the way modern society lives. Leave a comment below if you fancy more of this program, or you think I should talk about something else. Leave a comment below. It's a free country, and my desire most of all is for people to engage with this channel one way or the other. But I'm so intent going forward on dealing with policy, especially policy, and that's why I'm talking about the benefit system. Universal credit is the main plank of the benefit system in the United Kingdom. All other benefits anchors on universal credit, including pension, especially pension credit, and other also means-tested and non-means-tested pension, especially the sickness pension. We talk about carers allowance. Means somebody, if you are paying in relation to care, and if you're caring for another person who is sick, we get carers allowance, care element, unlimited capability for work-related activity element, and limited capability for work element, which are actually sickness element of the universal credit. They are means tested. They are replacing legacy benefit, the sickness equivalent in legacy benefit, and this is what we are trying to talk about here. And thank you so much for watching this far. Subscribe to this channel, and you're a champion. Give you a pat on your back and say thank you to yourself, because you have done well. We are watching after this time, and going forward I will endeavor to hopefully make this process more useful, that it is more efficient, more probably supportive than the way it is now. As a matter of fact, I find what I'm talking about to be really complicated. The law and policy are always been complex, but modern life is complex. No pain, no gain, and it is exciting. I'm excited about the opportunity to talk about these kind of issues, and going forward slightly from here. If you move between these elements, you need to check how your managed migration or SDP element will change over time, because SDP is actually sickness benefit, which is actually severe disablement payment, which is actually legacy benefit, and now changing into universal credit as an element, talk of SDP element, is actually universal credit payment. Because every time you hear about element, you know it is universal credit, which is really which is actually a type of universal credit, a component of universal credit, which is actually in addition to standard allowance. So we talk about managed migration, and actually SDP elements change over time with after the changes that occur. Managed migration and SDP elements are transitional elements. This means they reduce or end over time. Because if something is transitionally, they actually it's temporary. That's why they change, they reduce. The more of one thing or another thing happening in your income, they reduce or go up over time. They change, but normally because they're transitional as elements, they tend to reduce. This means they reduce or end over time. The reduction is called erosion. These are colorful definition. Colorful erosion is if you are familiar with that word, it speaks for yourself. Something erodes, it means it reduces in a wasteful way, in a disappearing fashion. I mean, because it vanishes. The reduction is called erosion. If you are transitional SDP element, transitional element within this program, if it reduces or ends over time, is actually erosion, is actually liquidation of actually the ending of the same support. So for changes after the first assessment period, your transitional element reduces when your standard amount or other element increases, except for childcare element. Childcare element under these circumstances are necessarily not subject to income level, and that is why probably it doesn't affect the universal credit, except childcare element, which is actually also unless a new element starts. If a new element of universal credit starts, that actually also produces a change of circumstance. If that happens, you report it, because a change of circumstance is going to reduce or increase the rest of the payment within the universal credit facilities. So you will be moving between limited capability for work related activity or limited capability for work element and the care element, which are actually a situation of changing of a changing mentality. Because if you are in a limited capability for work related activity situation, which means you're very sick, you get more benefit. But you might move from limited capability for work related activity to limited capability for work. Which means limited capability for work is actually means you get actually less money because you are less sick, and also the care element, which actually also conflict with the sickness element. In which case, if you get the one, you might not get the other. And these are all dynamics which are actually will be affecting your transitional element. And an example, when your word is uprated in April, your transitional element will reduce by the same amount. Uprating, we have seen previously that every year in April, the DWP actually increased the amount of universal credit. So if you actually experience an award or within the uprated condition, it's always happen in April, which is actually financial year in terms of the calendar. And your transitional element will reduce by the same amount. If it is uprated by 100, it is reduced by 100. If you get a 100 amount of operating of your benefit, universal credit, then your transitional element will reduce by 100, for example. So if the increase is more than the old transitional element, the reduction stops when the transitional element reaches 0. Because if it is 0, it means you cannot reduce it anymore. There's nothing else to take. But if it is maybe 10 or 5, because you cannot end up with a negative figure unless you're in debt with the Department of Work and Pension, borrow some money, in which case your benefit will be subjected to credit situation. You have to pay it back, then it can be negative. But in practice, they don't negative your overall benefit, because the logic of benefit is to help you to support your livelihood. So there will always be some mechanism to address with such anomalies. So also, if you look at the standard allowance, if your standard amount or other element decrease, and your transitional element will stay the same. Because if something is reducing, then your standard element will remain the same, assuming there was nothing or there was also negative. Then, because it doesn't relate to your standard level, because it's a benefit you talk about. So this means your overall award will go down because you will remain with standard allowance, but other elements always are there to give you additional support in terms of benefits allocation. You get standard allowance, which is actually your eligibility predicament. You get in standard allowance in full, subject to your income, subject to your saving or other factors happening in your life. And the other elements are there to enhance your support in terms of universal credit. So, so let us look at when transitional element is ending. And your transitional element will end when it is reduced to 0. So the reducing of transitional element actually happen progressively, or I don't know, can happen also radically. And when as soon as it reaches 0, it ends, which is common sense, but you know that it's not very common sense. I mean, when you talk about policy or law, nothing is common sense, and everything is also common sense. For example, about other changes of circumstances. I've been talking overly about changes of circumstances, like if your standard allowance goes down, or if other elements go down, maybe sickness element or care elements going up or down, then it can impact the transitional element one way or the other. Or if you get more money from somewhere, or if you probably also stop getting universal credit because you started to work or something, or somebody gave you 10,000 pounds, 20,000 pounds, a good friend or family, because your income will have been half, as in saving, not really income but saving. Income which is not earned, you could also say that. So we're looking at our ends. So a change of circumstances where, or also if your universal credit ends, like claim ends, as I said, or if you move from a joint claim to a single claim, or from a single to a joint claim. These are changes of circumstances. If you're in a relationship, if you have a wife and you divorce or she dies or you die, your wife would be the subject of universal credit transition, changes, and also how it will affect the transitional transitional element payment. Or so if you are actually your partner's income or earnings were above their administrative earnings threshold, when you claim universal credit, then it falls below it for 3 consecutive months. Administrative earnings threshold is actually the level of earning beyond which you don't get universal credit as a single person or as a joint claimant. So the administrative earning threshold since April 2023 is £677 for a single person, a single claimant, and £1,083 for a couple, for 2 people. Couple means 2 people who are claiming benefit. When you talk about joint claim, I've never heard of somebody, 2 or 3 or 4 people claiming universal credit at the same time. But potentially there is a possibility, but normally there are people in a couple in a relationship which actually faces a situation of joint claim. So if you're self-employed, you're treated as having earnings above the threshold. If you're subject to minimum income floor, this is similar to administrative earnings threshold, which changes occurred potentially having occurred in April 2023. We talk about minimum income floor, which is actually related to self-employed people. And this includes if you are in a start-up period. Start-up period is a period when you actually start your business. That's a time when you, especially this refers to small and medium businesses. And a situation of income capability or income testing or income checkability, whatever you want to call it. In this situation, you're facing, you're more likely to, I don't think you will be dealing with, when you talk about universal credit, you're probably not talk about an entrepreneur or an investor. But that might be also applicable because if you're an investor or an entrepreneur and you only have £6,000, then you can claim universal credit. And maybe your business is actually running at a loss or even breaking even, you're not getting any money from your business. That's not how big or small it is. In theory, if you have a saving of £6,000 in the United Kingdom, you don't get any universal credit at all, except if you're getting universal credit, which you might not get necessarily unless you're caring for a child or something like that. As we have seen. So let's just talk about self-employment and the earnings they might be getting. Minimum income flow. This includes if you are in a startup period, when you're only starting your business, to check if the minimum income flow applies to you. To do that, you need to speak to advisors or go online or do whatever you can do. But normally, you have to really go and get extra help sometimes. Or if you can help, if you cannot. Every time you cannot help yourself, do your best to get help from somewhere. So normally people can get out and in if you're starting a transitional element. In a situation where you restart transitional element, the transitional element can't usually restart. But if there is something usually happening or not happening, there may be situation where they may happen, but the general rule here is that transitional element cannot usually restart because it is transitional. It is a temporary measure, even if your circumstances go back to what they were. For example, if your relationship ends and then restarts, you cannot get a transitional element again. The transitional element might restart if your claim ended because your income was too high. If your income was too high for you, for example, to receive universal credit, then probably your benefit probably would end. Or if your benefit was too high, perhaps to get transitional element, but you could still be getting some aspect of universal credit. Or if your income falls low enough to qualify for universal credit within 3 months, you can get the transitional element again. If you comment below if you are still watching, and subscribe to this channel and say thank you to yourself, and thank you so much for watching this long. We are going to carry on with this material because I'm trying to keep it to a minimum to the best of my ability. We're going to carry on to next time we meet. Thank you so much for your support today. See you in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.